I've always said this, anytime someone does say something harmful, that you're not perfect. Nobody expects you to be perfect. You're going to say things that are wrong. You're going to mess up. You're going to, you're going to have been conditioned by our culture. You're going to have been conditioned by white supremacy that has been embedded, rooted in our culture for centuries and centuries and generations. You're going to be impacted by that in some shape or form. I am not free of that. I am not free of that. I honestly don't know what else to say. I'm sure things will continue to hit me throughout the day. I already was trying to not read these messages and read comments because majority of it is not coming from a place of care. And not care of me, but care of these communities of people, the Bipoc community. It's not coming from a place of care of these people are hurt, this would have been something hurtful to them. It's coming from a place of Taylor thinks that she's the best. Taylor thinks that Chris Harrison should be fired. Taylor thinks that everything's problematic. Taylor thinks she knows it all. We're going to show Taylor. We're going to point out to her, look at Taylor. See, we see this and she's bad. And therefore everything else that she's saying is bullshit. That is the majority of this because I've upset white supremacy, because I've upset our racist Bachelor Nation fan base. So I've tried to not engage in that. But I do want to engage with the folks that I wish had been in my life then. I wish had been in my life then, like y'all are today, where we can have a conversation around things like fat phobia, where we can talk about things like all this stuff happening in Bachelor world, right? Where we can talk about things like colorism, where we can talk about these really uncomfortable things, and I'm open to learning on that part. I'm open to knowing where I can do better. But to these tweets, I have already done better. I am where I am at now today because I have done the work, because I have put in the energy, because I've unpacked my own shit to get to where I am today to begin with. And as much as I want to say, I'm not going to let the people that are very clearly out to get me with all of this Bachelor stuff get to me. But y'all, it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. There's so many layers of all of this, and I know it's a lot to unpack. I sincerely hope that to the folks who do feel hurtful reading these messages, reading these tweets, I hope that I have changed in the last 10 years. I sincerely hope that you see that the work that I do now is inclusive. I hope that you sincerely believe and understand that I am open to knowing when I have said something that was hurtful and that I have said something that is wrong. And it feels so unsafe. It feels so unsafe to participate in this franchise. And all of what I'm experiencing now was like the primary cause of why things like those tweets even existed. Because it was that false sense of safety that maybe I wouldn't be the one who was abused verbally, emotionally, physically, that I wasn't the one maybe that would be stereotyped in a harmful way, that maybe I wouldn't be the one, right, experiencing those microaggressions, that maybe I wouldn't have to continuously relive the racial trauma that I already experienced at a young age. That maybe so I just hope that y'all see that I do this work. I didn't come out the womb doing this work. I'm not the wokest person. I don't know absolutely everything. I have been on a journey. I have been doing my own work to unpack all of my own shit, and through the process, it's opened me up to the entire BIPOC community and marginalized groups of people that I stand with, that I find safety with, that I find shared experiences, that I find common ground with. And I wish I had sooner. I wish I didn't have to be graduating high school. I wish I didn't have to be in undergrad feeling that way about myself and about folks that looked like me. I wish I didn't have to experience that prejudice as well from other minority groups. And I want to be really, really fucking clear to the white people, to, I guess, slightly the trolls that I know are digging all this up to begin with, is that the only reason that this kind of stereotyping and harmful shit even happens within the BIPOC community is because of white supremacy. It is rooted in things like colorism, that white supremacy has literally been at the top, at the root of non-white people. I can't even... Don't blame it on the BIPOC community. Don't try to pit a person of color against another person of color to absolve yourself of looking at your own whiteness. And this is also how white supremacy continues to be able to remain in power, right? Or absolve themselves of actually looking at their privilege by pointing out these little like conflicts, right? These stereotyping, this harmfulness, this prejudice within BIPOC community. By them. I honestly feel like I'm just continuing to repeat myself, and like, I don't know if any of this is helpful. I know that I'm someone who does the work and who will always continue to do the work, not just for Blackness, but for all of BIPOC, for Indigenous communities, for Native Americans, for Asian people, for Chinese people, for Mexican people, for trans people, for fat people, for all of these things, for the LGBTQ community in which I am a part of. Like, I will always continue to do this work because that is the person that I am. Even when I was saying those things, even when I was in that place of rejecting my Blackness, there was a part of me so badly that wanted to fight against it. But out of trauma response, out of survival, out of safety, out of familiarity, my family, I didn't know how to. And this is not just, oh, I grew up in the South and I wasn't educated, which is also part of it, South Carolina. But it's also the fact that I have had to experience the absolute harm and trauma that is white supremacy. And that's what you see in those tweets. That's what I had in myself. I no longer hate my blackness. I no longer care to have the false sense of safety, of siding with, of protecting white supremacy and whiteness. I no longer have that. So absolutely, I stand with my BIPOC community. And I sincerely hope that you can accept me as being imperfect, as continuously always doing the work. Lifelong. I don't think this shit's going anywhere anytime soon. I sincerely hope that you see my passion when I talk about this. I sincerely hope that you hear my truth. I could have very easily, a few years ago when I thought of it, could have very easily deleted all of that and hid it from it. And I didn't. I kept it there. And I said, you know what? I'm sure it's going to come out one day. And when it does, I know that I've done the work. I know that I have changed since then. I know that I do better on a daily basis now. And I also know why I did that. And the reason I did that is all of what I fight against today. This is all what happens when you go against white supremacy. I'm going to prioritize myself, my care for myself. I extend an invitation to the BIPOC community involved in this franchise and outside of it to engage as well. If my tweets have triggered you, if they have hurt you, I invite you to engage in that self-care as well. Because it sucks. It sucks when it also comes from someone within the community. It sucks. I know because I've also experienced it myself, and I've been the one to perpetuate it as well. And if I'm silent on here, it's literally just because this is the last of what I had in me. I already was coming to a need for space on here. And I didn't want to leave silently to the members of the BIPOC community that were hurt by my tweets. I don't want to leave you in the dark. I see you. I'm sure I'll have more to say. I'm sure this will be an ongoing conversation. But this is all I have for now.